As a former coach and current teacher, I know that sports teach our kids so much more than how to play the game. And they did the same thing for me when I was a kid. While playing sports, I learned the importance of teamwork. I learned what it looks like to be a good loser and a good winner. And I found out about the connection between hard work and feeling pride in what you accomplish, regardless of the score. These lessons have stayed with me long after I left the fields. If you have young children in your life, you don't need to wait for them to get out to the diamonds, rinks, or courts to start learning some of those important lessons. Sideline Monsters Baseball Edition, a new book by Emily Harder, follows a young baseballer as they discover how to stay focused, brave, and joyful, even when the monsters get noisy. The sideline monsters in the story clap too loudly, shout too many instructions, or make funny faces when the game gets close. They don't mean any harm, but they sure can make things confusing. The book is perfect for children ages 4 through 8, but there are plenty of lessons in the story for parents, coaches, and anyone else who is a fan of youth sports. The monsters in the book are silly, the story is empowering, and the ending reminds us all that the game is supposed to be fun. Sideline Monsters Baseball Edition is available wherever you get your books in hardcover, paperback, or digital. And now, on with the show. Just a heads up, this is another pretty heavy episode. In it, I discuss acts of racist violence, including lynching. While the story ends on an uplifting note, I understand if that's not something you want to delve into this morning. This is Lessons We Forgot, and this episode is called Dirt. For more than 30 years, the Equal Justice Initiative has been working to expose racial bias in the criminal justice system. Part of that work is highlighting historical injustice in American society. This includes the Community Remembrance Project that seeks to help people remember their own local history through the installation of historical markers, judging high school essay contests, and by collecting soil from historical places, especially those associated with confirmed cases of lynching. For those of you who are unaware, between the end of Reconstruction in 1877 and 1950, more than 4,400 African Americans were killed throughout the United States. Typically, this was mob-style violence, often concluded with a public hanging or similar execution. These acts of terrorism were usually not even investigated by authorities, and it was exceedingly rare for anyone to face prosecution for committing these crimes. The Community Remembrance Project is working to place historical markers on the locations of confirmed cases of lynching, and they are asking for volunteers to bring dirt from these sites to their collection in Montgomery, Alabama. While memorializing these acts of violence can be painful for the communities involved, and are sometimes seen as controversial, 80 markers have been installed already, and 700 soil samples have been collected. Brian Stevenson, a lawyer working with the Equal Justice Initiative, tells a particularly inspiring story from one of these collections. I'd like to share my version of the story with you. A Black woman, volunteering with the Equal Justice Initiative, nervously parked her car at a location of a confirmed lynching. She wasn't nervous that she hadn't found the correct location. She was certain of that. She was nervous about how the community would react to her digging up the dirt and pinpointing their town as a place where such a horrific act of violence occurred. So, as inconspicuously as possible, she began digging with her small garden spade and filling up her bucket. But, almost as soon as she began, she noticed a truck driving past her, very slowly. Then, it drove by again. Finally, on the third pass, the truck stopped. A white man emerged from the truck and asked what she was doing. So she explained the significance of the location and the goals of the EJI and waited to hear his response. The man thought about what she said, and then, to her surprise, he asked if he could help her collect the sample. With more than a little relief, she offered him a shovel, but he refused. He insisted he use his hands. Moved by this gesture, the woman had a hard time getting back to her task. Her new companion noticed the change in her demeanor, and he asked if he had done something to upset her. She assured him that he had not. In fact, he had done the exact opposite. But not long after that, she noticed a change in him, too. He began to dig faster and faster. Now tears were visible in his eyes. Now it was her turn to ask if something had upset him. So he explained that his family, as far back as he knew, had always lived in this town. He was beginning to fear that one of his family members might have participated in the lynching that they were there to commemorate. That jar that they collected together was brought to the museum by both of the people who collected it, and is now a part of the exhibit. This simple act of digging up some dirt teaches us so many valuable lessons. It teaches us the power of redemption. It teaches us that simple acts of courage can inspire others to do the same. It teaches us that letting other people help us can be a gift in of itself. And it teaches us that we can't possibly know what other people will learn from the lessons that we are trying to teach. I have to admit, I sometimes try to concoct the perfect lesson for my students in class. Sometimes I even try to end class on some big crescendo meant to blow everyone away with whatever point I'm trying to make. As you might imagine, that very rarely works out the way I hope it would in a middle school classroom. No matter what we do, though, our students, given the exact same information as we have, will not always come to the same conclusions as we do. But our jobs are not to teach our students what to think. Our job is to give our students the ability to think for themselves. We are tasked with giving our students the insights into the world that we have already gathered, and to let them make the meaning for themselves. Atticus Finch defines courage in To Kill a Mockingbird as starting a fight when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. Sometimes we might feel like we are set up for failure. Other times we face uphill battles or things seem stacked against us. But having courage doesn't mean that we don't see the reality of our situations. It doesn't mean that we aren't scared about what might happen. It means doing what we know is the right thing to do, despite our fear, because of what we might accomplish or what we can inspire in others. I have done regrettable things. I'm sure you have too. Sometimes our students notice when we mess up. Sometimes our colleagues do as well. But often, it's just something that we have to deal with that no one else will ever know. In situations like that, redemption does not come easily. We might have no one to apologize to, and no one with which to make amends. That's when we have to look at ourselves and see the value in what kind of person we are right now. A person who has learned from the mistakes of the past, not forgetting what happened nor dwelling on it, but being willing to do what it takes to make the world around you a better place right now. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Lessons We Forgot. I'm the host, Chris Winkle. You can contact me at lessonsweforgot@gmail.com, and you can follow the show or message Lessons We Forgot on Facebook. Either way, I'd love to hear from you and welcome you to our community. If you really enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend. That is the best way to help grow the podcast. If you want to hear more Lessons We Forgot, I post new episodes on Sunday nights. Make sure you subscribe to follow the show on whatever podcast platform you use. And when you rate the show, like an episode, or leave a comment, we can reach even more listeners. If you hate ads just like me, I do have a Patreon site, patreon.com/lessonsweforgot, and for only $1 a month, you can get the show without ads. You can try that out right now for free to see if it's something you'd be interested in. Thanks again for your support.